Right. So welcome everyone to the Boss Podcast, Business Owner Success Show with yours truly, Jason Delumpa. And we have a very special guest on today's show. But before I introduce who he is to you guys, I want to first talk about the word boss. Coming up with the name of the podcast, boss, used to be a negative word to me. I don't know if you guys heard, boss has a negative connotation. Um, because maybe in the past you worked for a boss that was toxic, right? So whenever you hear the word boss, you have negative feelings. A toxic boss is someone who's rude, someone who believes they're always right. They could be passive aggressive. They don't listen to your team, or they don't listen to you or your needs. They make you feel bad. They could feel entitled, and overall, they just give out negative vibes. I mean, who wants to deal with a negative boss or a toxic boss? But one thing I learned from one of my mentors, he says that things only have the meaning that we give them. Things only have the meaning that we give them. So I flipped it. I redefined the word boss. So a boss to me is someone who's a servant leader, someone who inspires, someone who is courageous and makes the most difficult decisions in the face of adversity, someone who empowers their teams or their clients, someone who encourages, someone who impacts their community, someone who values people, someone who has positive influence, um, someone who is a game changer and not a game manager. You get what I'm saying? And overall, someone who makes things happen ultimately. And that's why I'm so excited and have the privilege and honor to introduce our next special guest of the hour. This is someone who embodies those qualities. I'm going to read a short bio on this individual. Ed Diaz has been providing individuals and families with exceptional mortgage services, coupled with the resources of his vast network for more than 2 decades. His background includes expertise in financial services, credit consulting, and mortgage banking. He has written numerous articles, including Your Four-Digit Big Brother is Watching, and considers himself a consumer advocate. He has also done numerous television and radio appearances and was featured in the Contra Costa Times newspaper. He currently serves as the president of the National Association Hispanic Real Estate Associates of San Francisco and is a founding member and director of the Bay Area Networking Group in San Francisco. Ed earned a bachelor's degree in business and psychology and continues to take courses in motivation and self-improvement in order to hone and continuously improve the quality of service he provides to his customers. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome the great Mr. Diaz.
The great. I don't know about the great, but thank you very much for the intro. One slight correction that I need to make is that I am the former president of NORA in San Francisco. I was the original and the first president of that organization, which is a fantastic organization for real estate professionals around the Bay Area. I just wanted to make that one little correction. But thank you so much for inviting me. I mean, this is exciting. Anytime we have the opportunity to bless others, sign me up. We're in. You know my heart. You and I have known each other, and you know what? This is a great example that like attracts like, and you're the same way, my friend. There's no coincidence that we're both on this.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the audience is in for a treat. So just to dive right into the interview, ladies and gentlemen, Ed, in your own words, can you let the audience know who Ed Diaz is, what you represent, and how do you show up and serve the world?
Ooh, that's a good one. So Ed Diaz is a person who grew up with a single mom, only child, always with this hypersensitivity and awareness that life was really not about me, but it's about me in other people's lives. So it's
Mm.
not me and I, it's us and we. I've always been very, very communal. I've always been about helping others, whether it's sometimes just talking, sometimes it's sharing a cup of coffee like we have, right? Sometimes it's telling somebody, hey, man, I get it. I know what you're going through and it's going to be okay. What is it you need? And sometimes it's a stranger, it's a homeless person, right? Sometimes it's those
Right.
invisible people. And sometimes it shows up as somebody who gets referred to me who has already given up, but they're talking to me just because they want to go through the mechanics, but they really don't believe they can buy a house. The next thing you know, what they do, right? Because they don't know what resources are out there. They don't have the education, the knowledge, and more importantly, they don't have advocates in their lives that can
Hmm.
help them turn a no or maybe into a yes. How I show up is that every single day, man, I'm up at 4:30 in the morning, and the first thing I think about, honest to goodness, is who's that one person that am I going to bless today?
Mm.
I want to bless at least one person every single day. And again, sometimes it's, I see somebody, maybe I buy him a cup of coffee, right?
Yeah.
Shoot him a smile. Hey man, it's gonna be all right.
Yeah.
How you doing today? When you see, because we can detect, right? We can detect energy when we
Hmm.
see somebody's maybe a little bit off.
Yeah.
When I've gone to places like Target and maybe you're going through the line and I ask the teller or the cashier, I say, how's your day going? And they'll go, well, and I'll say, hey, you know what? It does get better. I know it may not feel like it. And so what I like to do sometimes is carry around little Starbucks cards and I go, hey, let this be a little help for you. Go get a nice little warm cup of coffee, warm up that heart because it does get a little bit better. This one's
Mm.
on me. Make sure that you surround yourself with really good people. I know that we got other people here, right, in line, but I just want to tell you, I've been through some stuff too, and it does get better. I'm telling you, you got to believe this guy, right? And so we just find ways to bless people as opposed to finding ways to look the other way and think that it's not our problem.
Mm.
The truth is, we're all brothers and sisters. Every brother's and sister's plight is our plight. We were put on this planet to be together. When we are not and we separate and there's division, it causes all kinds of social cancers like suicide,
Mm.
prescription drugs,
Hmm.
heavy drug use, all those things become side effects of a bigger problem, which is the division amongst us. We were born to be communal and to be together. Think about it.
Absolutely.
All our best times probably involve people. Think about all the great times you've had in your life. I'm sure it involved people. It could be friends, family, stranger, whatever person you just met. We're in sales and we get to meet new people all the time. That's one of the reasons why we're in it, because you and I, Jason, understand the power of human connection. And there are no genius ideas that can ever replace human touch and connection. Yes, we're
Absolutely.
living in a time of technology and everything's on our phones and we could talk to somebody in other parts of the country through video and we're doing Zoom here. We don't even have to be in the same room anymore, but it will never replace the physical human connection. And the more we attempt to do that, or technology attempts to do that, it's causing more pain. We saw that all the major leaders of these social media companies
Hmm.
were in the Senate getting hammered
Yep.
because the truth is social media has been a contributor to suicides and to other horrendous social things, cancers that are happening in our society because people are becoming more dependent on the phone than in meeting with one another, right? You go to cafes, man, and all you see are people on laptops and on their phones.
Hmm.
You see families at dinner texting one another. They're right there.
Dang.
Just look up,
Hmm.
right? Hug somebody. Tell them you love them. Get away
Yeah.
from the phone. I'm not saying that technology isn't good, but it's not everything, and it
Hmm.
cannot replace human interaction, physical. We need to be
Absolutely.
together.
Awesome. Absolutely, Ed. I 100% agree with you. And Ed is as real and as authentic as they come, ladies and gentlemen. Um, so we're blessed to have him here. Um, Zig Ziglar, one of the great business motivational speakers, says, expect the best, but prepare for the worst, and capitalize on what comes. So, Ed, what's one thing in your career that you didn't expect?
I didn't expect last year for interest rates to go up to 8%
Hmm.
and that we would see a 27-year low in the number of mortgages that were being done in the country. It actually exceeds my career by 4 years because I've been in it for 23 and counting. So
Hmm.
we hit an all-time low. And matter of fact, at the end of the year, we saw about 50% of people in my business left the business because of it. It was dire. People were dying on the vine. If you did not have savings, you were most likely either bankrupt and or getting another job. And we didn't see that coming. Right? All of a sudden, rates shot up and it killed the whole market. Because those of you who've been around for a while, you'll remember that in the 80s, interest rates for mortgages went up to as high as 21%. Then it went back down to 13, but they were in the double digits. But people were still buying houses because guess what? It's all relative, right? Houses were 50 grand. Of course, wages were lower. But now, if you look at the comparison of wages to the prices of homes, that gap is a lot bigger. I mean, in San
Right.
Francisco, what 1.3, 1.6 million is the median. And
Hmm.
by the way, that's not a house that you're really going to brag about. It's just a normal house, right? And what it takes today to purchase a home like that, most people do not make that kind of money, which is why we're becoming a nation of renters. So I did not see that coming.
Wow, so it totally affected the industry that you're in. How did you stay afloat? How did you, stay in the game? How did you stay positive?
Yeah, that's a great question because let me tell you, look, I'm a human being like everybody else. I mean, were there moments where I'm thinking, man, is this the end of my
Hmm.
20 plus year career that I love so much? Because for me, it's not even a career, it's a calling. I feel called to
Right.
do this. And I said to myself, no, you have to think of this, Ed, as this is your plan A, B, C, all the way
Mm.
through Z. There,
You're gonna make it happen,
failure
nevertheless.
is not an
Mm.
option. What you need to do is retool. You need to make more calls.
Mm.
You need to reach out to more consumers. You need to reach out to your database. You need to call up some of your realtor partners to see how you can help them, and therefore everybody gets helped, right? Because
Right.
when we help others, it helps us just as a byproduct. When it happens, that's above my pay grade. That's God's work, right? So I don't do it for
Mhm.
that. But we all know that what we put out comes back to us. That's just a given, right? So I decided to help my way out of it. That
Mm.
I would help and focus on helping others as a way of getting it out myself, like getting out of it myself.
Right.
And it worked. The reality is that it always works.
Hmm.
What's the best way to improve your own life? Improve the life of others.
I love
Because
it.
the
I
more
love it.
people that you help get what they want, the more you get. I mean, that's another, I believe that's either
Zig
Les Brown or
Ziglar.
Zig. Yeah,
Yeah.
said it. And it's true.
Hmm.
It's absolutely true. So are you sowing seeds in other people's lives? Are you,
Mm.
not by your tongue, but by your actions, are you showing love? Are you helping other people? Because here's the thing, Jason, we've gotten to be masters at suffering in silence. We're
Wow.
always shocked. Like, what? Like, are you kidding me? Robin Williams committed suicide? How is that possible? The
Hmm.
happiest guy, a comic, made us all laugh. But here's the thing, people suffer in silence, man. So
Hmm.
that's why it's important to stay in touch with people and to give them permission to talk to you about anything and everything. When was the last time you told a friend, hey, man, hey, Jason, man, I just want to tell you something, man. I'm not saying you're going through anything, but I just want to give you permission that any time things get tough, I want to give you permission that I'm that guy that you can count on, man. You call me, I'll put everything down, I'll reschedule appointments, let's go have coffee. When was the last time we've done that? We have to start being more proactive and
Absolutely.
active and on top of things for one
Hmm.
another. Because the last thing you want to do is have that remorse or that guilt that you didn't make that call and you find out that your buddy committed suicide.
Mm.
You want to be an active participant in other people's lives. I
Right.
love Fridays for a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons is because it's a great day to call people just to check in. Hey man, what are you doing the weekend? It's a great
Right.
excuse,
Yeah.
right? What's going on the weekend, man? Hey, did you hear that? I always like to like prepare 4 or 5 things that are going on in the Bay Area to give some nuggets because that's the other part. You
Mhm.
always want to be giving things that are useful to people. So I like to write
Mhm.
down like some events, right? Hey Jason, what's going on, man? Happy Friday. Hey, what are you doing the weekend, man? Just calling to check in. Oh, you know what? Really wasn't thinking of much. Hey, the Marin market's happening. I'm going to be there in the morning. You want to join me? Cup of
Right.
coffee's on me. See, now that became a joint event. Yeah, maybe you weren't feeling good. The truth is, maybe you were depressed, man. Not pulling you out to go to the Marin Farmers Market. First cup of coffee on me. All of a sudden, you're feeling a lot better. It's beautiful there. The air's getting permeating your brain. You're starting to think a little bit clearer. You're with your boy, right? Who's got you.
He or she probably never had someone to take them out the house. Probably they were stuck in the house and deep in thought
That's
and
right.
depression.
That's right.
And you're that person who, you know, changed their day for them, brightened their
That's
day.
exactly right. And notice how there's no genius ideas here. It's just do it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Sometimes we have analysis paralysis. We think that we need to make a huge impact to make any impact at all. That's not true.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's the smallest little things that mean a whole lot. Like, hey, dude, let's drop everything we're doing. Let's go grab coffee.
Right.
That coffee can save a life, right?
Right.
And don't play the statistics. Just do it. You know your people. If you hear any little thing that might be negative, take the next step. Hey, man, what are you doing? What are you doing later on? Right? Let's go grab lunch. Let's go grab coffee. It's on me. Right? Be that person, even if it's not reciprocated. Sometimes being a leader and a boss in people's lives means that there's nothing in it for you. Or maybe they don't even reciprocate it to you.
Hmm.
Stop making everything a quid pro quo, which is tit for tat. Stop
Right.
doing that.
Right.
Do it because it's the right thing to do,
Man,
not because it's the right thing
100%.
to be done to. Big difference, right?
Right.
We have to be those people. And that's where you start to see the difference and you start to see things changing, at least in your own circle. Start in your
At
own
least.
circle
Yeah.
because it has ripple effects, right?
Hmm.
Because here's another interesting thing. You ever notice that when you let somebody in, like let's say you're driving and you let somebody in front of you, now they let somebody else. But if you don't let that person in, they're not letting
Right.
anybody in because
Exactly.
it
Yeah.
creates that
Contagious.
kind of positive or negative momentum.
Yeah.
So where are you going so quickly? If you are that behind and driving that crazy, guess what I got for you? Get up earlier, leave earlier.
Hmm.
Stop being that person who drives like an insane maniac, right?
Right.
Let people in front of you be courteous, man. Let them go. It's not gonna waste any of your time.
Yeah.
It's not, but it can make a huge difference because if you set that other person off and they get super mad, they can cause a crash,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
We all matter at the end of the day. We all
Yeah,
matter.
man, of course.
Yeah.
Yes, we're all in this together, even if
Yeah.
you don't think so.
Hmm.
We are. We are in this together. Let's start acting like brothers and sisters. Let's
Hmm.
start being kind to one another. I was in Boise, Idaho.
Hmm.
Man, I was blown away. Little kids opening the door. They go through it and then they look back and they open the door for you to let you go through.
Nice.
Like, where are your parents, man? I got to hug it out with them,
Yeah.
right? Because they were taught the correct way. I was taught that every time I go through a door, I always look back. Who can I
Yep.
hold the
Me
door
too.
for?
Yep.
Right? You know what I'm saying? And those
Hmm.
little things matter
Yeah.
as opposed to just letting the door slam in the other person's face.
Yeah.
You don't do that. I mean, that's disrespectful. Let's be respectful. Let's be loving. Let's give grace. That's the other thing, too. We're living in a time where everything's disposable.
Hmm.
Like if you don't do things perfectly, people throw you away. Well, who's perfect? Show me one perfect
Yeah.
person. We all
Yeah.
make mistakes. You don't throw the
Yeah.
baby out with the bathwater because a person made one mistake.
Yeah.
Come on, man. And by the way, you're going to make mistakes too. Would you like that happening to you? Of course
Yeah.
not. So you have to give grace to get grace,
Took the words right out of my mouth.
right?
Hmm.
This is how we
Absolutely.
do it. This is how we start
Yep.
to reverse this insanity.
Man. Lead by example.
Always.
Yeah.
What are you doing when nobody's watching?
Hmm.
That's my question.
Yeah.
Are you living in alignment? Are you living in integrity?
Mhm.
That's what's important.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you, Ed, for that. Um, you and I discussed about being a homeowner and why home ownership is very important, especially when leaving a financial legacy behind.
Mm.
For me, I've always, thought being a homeowner or purchasing a home meant, you know, being really expensive or not affordable, um, or just a, overall difficult process, before meeting someone like yourself. Um, what is a common myth or myths about your your job or being a mortgage advisor?
A common myth from the consumer looking at
Yes.
me
Mm-hmm.
that we're just salespeople
Mm.
and all we care about is money. That's not the truth. I've met thousands and thousands of mortgage people. Let me tell you, by and large, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
saying those people don't exist because those people exist everywhere, right? In
Mm-hmm.
every industry. But by and large, the people in our business sacrifice a lot and they have to work a ton for free before they see a single penny of income. And most of the people in our industry, including me, we do it because we know the gigantic positive impact homeownership has in the lives of them, their family, and next generations. Because real estate, by its very nature, has legacy built into it. People have to live somewhere. So that house is going to most likely go through generations.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, is okay, we'll just go to the next question. Sorry about that. So I've learned that even with the most successful people out there, there's always going to be some type of challenge or problem to be solved, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and the only thing constant in our life is change, right? Um, but for some people, change equals growth, if you're really intentional about it. What's the biggest challenge you're facing in your business right now, Ed? And how are you tackling it?
Yeah, I would say the biggest challenge right now for us is the perception that interest rates should dominate your decision to buy or not buy a home.
Hmm.
And let me expand on that. There are many benefits to buying a home. Number one, lifestyle, right? Number two, it does change your financial situation. There's no doubt about it. Because think about where else can you, what other investment can you sleep in, get tax write offs for mortgage interest and property taxes, and also be able to not pay capital gains when you sell it at a certain amount. I mean, where else, right? It's making you
Hmm.
money as you sleep, called equity. There's no other investment that does that, right? And you're sleeping in it.
Mm.
So the challenge is helping people overcome their fear that the interest rate is going to kill them financially. The reality is that look, after 2008 and that whole real estate meltdown, in 2010 they passed the Dodd-Frank Act and the government came in and imposed a lot of compliance and legislation, right, to clean up the industry. Why am I highlighting this? Because now you have to pass through certain affordability tests in order to get approved for a loan. Lenders are not going to approve somebody who can't pay them back in today's market. It's just not going to happen. So when I say that you can afford a certain amount, whether it's putting down payment or zero down, by the way, you could be rest assured that that's the number. Numbers don't lie. It's not emotional, right? So instead of allowing your fears to get in the way, you need to talk to a caring professional who puts your best interest first and find out what your numbers are. Stop hyper focusing on the rates. Rates are going to go up and they're going to come down. And I believe they're going to continue to come down the rest of the year. We're in 2024. So think about this, get yourself a home that you can afford and refinance later and save more money. Because here's the truth, for the first 7 to 8 years of any mortgage, you're pretty much paying all interest because the banks aren't stupid. They want to front load their payment, which is interest. They don't make money off your principal, they make money off the interest, right? They want to get their money first, which is why that's the formula. You pay mostly interest up front, and then about year 7 is when you start really paying the principal back, right?
Right.
So think about what I just said. If mortgage interest is deducted, when are you getting the most deductions? The first 7 years. So the reality is the higher the rate, the greater the deduction, right?
Mm.
Because you're paying more mortgage interest that's deductible. I'm not saying that, oh, well, that's a strategy. Of course, nobody wants to pay more, but I'm saying that should not be the reason why you don't buy a home because you're deducting that rate, that mortgage interest anyway, which means you're paying Uncle Sam less money in taxes.
Mhm.
Refinance later, get a lower payment, and now you baked your cake and you ate it too. You're just not doing it at the same time. The baking the cake means you're buying the house, let it bake for a little bit, right?
Yeah.
The interest rate, and then later on refinance and eat your cake. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes.
But get with someone who knows what they're doing, who can pre-approve you for a real number that you can afford, and then focus on getting a good price on the home. And
Mhm.
then we'll refinance you within the months that are coming, because I do believe in the next definitely 4 to 6 months, we'll start to see rates come down even more. And then you just refinance, and now you have the best of both worlds. But stop making emotional assumptions. Stop letting your emotions get in the way of decision making. You know, there's IQ and EQ, right? IQ, intelligence quotient, and there's EQ, emotional quotient. There's a lot of people with really high IQs, but their EQ is very low. They let their emotions get the best of them.
Mhm.
Let me give you an example. Road rage. Why should anybody die on the road? Because somebody got mad, somebody who doesn't even know you or anything, they get mad and then they start to get into all this thing and egos get in the way. Then they both pull over and one of them has a gun and shoots the other person dead. Why should that ever happen? That's all emotion. That's not being rational. Does that make sense? It's the same thing with our financial decisions. I want everybody who's
Mhm.
listening in and who's watching this to really think and be honest with yourself. Here's where you're at financially right now. Number one, what is your plan? Number two, what emotional decisions have gotten you to where you're at right now financially? List them on a piece of paper and make the commitment of getting rid of some of these emotional traps you have going on that are keeping you down. You know, some of these are comparison. Are you comparing yourself to everybody else? Stop scrolling on Instagram and looking at everybody living their best life. That is not true. If everybody was living their best life, then why do we have so many suicides? Then why do we have so many prescription drugs being written by pharmacies and doctors in this country? Why do we have so much depression? Right? The next is stop criticizing. Get that out of your vernacular. You are not perfect. Stop criticizing. And by the way, I'm implementing all this too, right? Right. And then the third C, because notice how they all start with C. The third C is stop complaining, man. Do you know that most of our problems are first world problems? Go to another country where you see people starving to death,
Mhm.
and you tell me, compare your life with theirs, right? Those are the three C's that you should implement. Start there, but get your EQ up nice and high so that you can start making some really good decisions, not just financially, but just overall in your life, in your relationships. Do you hold grudges? Are you always mad at people? Are you judgmental? You walk into a room and you go, wow, look at what that person's wearing. I mean,
Mhm.
everybody has the freedom to wear and do whatever they want. You might not be the best dressed either. So what? Is that how you want to be judged? Right? The golden rule. Treat others
Right.
the way you want to be treated.
Right. Awesome, awesome. I know you talked about the interest rates. Is that the fear from preventing a homeowner?
Yeah. In today's market,
So
yes,
they look at
it's,
the interest rates. Oh, I can't afford a home.
oh, yeah, no way. I'm
So
not doing
so
it.
so I mean
Right.
the rates again, it's out of your control. But what they can have control over is talking to someone like yourself.
Correct. To get the
Yeah, yeah.
options, right? Because
Mhm.
here's the other thing, too. Did you know that you can buy down a rate, that you can pay money to get a lower rate? That's
Most
called
people
paying
don't know that.
points. Yeah,
Most people don't know.
exactly.
Yeah.
They don't
Mhm.
know. And they don't know that every single day you have between 10 and 23 different interest rate options. Like, what?
Yeah.
I thought it was only one rate. No, it's 10 to 23 on average. So
Nice.
there's a lot more that you don't know. And here's the thing, it's like rights. If you don't know you have a right, then you don't have it because you can't
That's awesome.
exercise it.
Yeah.
If you don't have knowledge, you cannot exercise that knowledge and
Hmm.
deploy it into your life,
Oh,
in the life
perfect.
of other
Per
people.
Yeah.
Stop making assumptions. Partner up yourself, create yourself a financial team of people that have your best interests. Who are these people? Get a good mortgage person, get a good real estate person, right? Get a
Hmm.
good tax person, get a great estate planning attorney, because once you buy the house, you're going to want to put it and protect it in a trust, right? And there's all these things that go along with those, but these are just basic people that should be in your life already, right? This is your team. If you don't have a team, you don't have people. And if you don't have people, you're missing out on a lot of opportunity, tons. And by the way, time waits for no one. How much time have you already been waiting?
Right.
Stop waiting. Stop waiting. Contact Jason, contact me. Our networks are humongous. So if you're thinking about buying a house, but you don't have a real estate person, by the way, the first step is to get pre-approved and know your numbers. You shouldn't even be talking to a realtor until you know your numbers. But guess what? I've been in the business for 23 plus years. Do I know all the great realtors? Pretty much. I will hook you up with a real estate person. And by the way, they're not giving me a kickback or giving me a referral fee because it's illegal. So we're good there. I'm doing it because I want to help you, right? So I can help you with the whole process from beginning of the idea all the way to the end. I'm not here to sell you anything. So maybe when we go through the numbers, we realize that we need to do some homework. Maybe we need to fix your credit. I have great credit resources. Maybe you need to
Mhm.
save up some more money. Maybe you need to deploy a little bit more courage and go in on Monday and ask for a raise. You know that raise that you haven't gotten in 6 years? Well, I have a script that you can use to talk to your boss on Monday morning to get, right, to ask for a raise because maybe you're a little bit too shy. I have a script. We can talk about it. I can help you because I've been doing this for so
Awesome.
long. You think it's the first time? No, of course not, right? I'm here to help.
You hear that, ladies and gentlemen? Please contact Ed ASAP.
Yeah,
And
contact me
take
because I'm
action
never going
right
to sell
now.
you
Yeah.
anything. I promise you. You're not going to
Yeah.
see. I'm not a salesy
Yeah.
person. You've known me, Jason. I don't even talk about mortgages, man. I just notice what I'm talking about. Have I talked about programs or anything? No. I'm talking
No.
about at the end of the day is getting from point A to point B because
Yeah.
here's, you guys ready to hear my why? Why do I do this? Because I remember what homeownership did for my single mom and myself. I'm an only child. When we took the landlord out of the equation, it was a absolute game changer. It crushed. It was awesome because we didn't have a landlord that can either make excuses to kick us out because they wanted a family member to live in the unit or raise the rents because every year they want to raise rents, which they're entitled to. But raising rents can mean that you don't have the money, you have to move again. Who wants to keep moving, man? Nobody. Now we had more control over our finances. And by the way, that house could then be right given to me as part of legacy, and then I could give it to my son, and blah blah blah. Here we go, right? We're building legacy wealth, which we are not doing. Have you guys noticed that there is a bigger widening gap between the rich and the poor in this country? The
Mhm.
middle class is getting wiped out, man. We need to deploy different strategies and we cannot be experts at everything. This is why I say get your team together. You should be talking to a financial planner. You should be
Mhm.
talking to
Mhm.
your tax person and developing strategies of what to do from experts. Stop Googling stuff. Get into relationships with professionals who care about you.
Great stuff, Ed. Great stuff. Absolutely. Um, what's one lesson your career has taught you and that you think everyone should learn at some point in their life?
That just because somebody says no right now, it doesn't mean no forever.
Mm.
Sometimes people are just in a different place. Maybe they're not ready. And it also has taught me, I'll put in a second bonus one here. Stop taking things personally. So focus on the prize, not your pride.
Mm. I like that. Focus on the prize, not your pride. Wow. That's powerful.
There you go.
let the audience know, well, if you were to have coffee with any historical figure, dead or alive, who would you choose and why?
Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali. Obviously Jesus, right? I mean, that's that's number one, right? If I could
Yeah.
go back that time, right? I almost don't even say it because I don't even feel worthy, but like Jesus is my dude, man. That's my
Right.
guy, right? I'm a huge follower of Jesus. Let me just put that out there. But
Awesome.
for a human person, just a normal, well, not normal because, but it would be Muhammad Ali. Why? Because Muhammad Ali is the embodiment of being his own person. He was always who he really was. He never put a veneer. He wasn't trying to fake it to make it. He wasn't trying to be anybody else. He was
Hmm.
always his own person. But at the same time, he was always throwing out their nuggets of wisdom to help other people. And he had such a kind heart and such a great soul, even though he was a boxer and he talked a lot of smack. A lot of the smack that he talked about, if you really listen to it, were nuggets of wisdom. And so for me, Ali, man, is just huge because of that. Not so much because he was a great boxer, but because he was a great man and a
Mm.
great human.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Ed. Now I have to ask you this, because you're to me you're successful. What does your morning routine look like?
Very good. So I'm up at 4:30 in the morning and then I just start ingesting content. I am addicted to content, man. I love to read. A lot of the stuff that I read or that I watch is not only inspirational stuff, but it's also I prepare myself every morning to be able to disseminate nuggets of wisdom and education. So I ingest a lot of that information from all different kinds of sources. Some of it might be economic, it might be an inspirational quote or an inspirational moment that I saw somebody go through, right? Maybe I saw a reel or somebody and somebody's talking about overcoming cancer, right? Those kind of things. And then, economic news, mortgages, of course. I want to be able to then do a video or talk about it as my day progresses and I'm talking to a bunch of people that I can share that information. Then I don't have really breakfast until about 11 o'clock in the morning because I like to do intermittent fasting. But I started out with a cup of coffee, man. I love, me, Jason. I'm a coffee dude, huge coffee guy. I've been drinking coffee since I was literally 6 months old because I'm from Nicaragua
Wow.
and that's how we do it. Yeah. So,
Nice.
yeah, I know. I always make the joke that instead of being 5'11", I could have been 6'3", but the coffee kind of stunted my growth.
Nice.
So I drink my coffee and then I hop on and do emails I do emails at about 7:30 or 8. But then, I drop off my son to work, then I drop off my wife to work, come back, and as soon as I drop her off, usually right from the car, man, I start on appointments and phone calls. And I do pre-approvals for my mortgages. I look over all the information, making sure that I'm approving everybody, getting everybody ready to buy a house. I'm talking to realtors. I'm looking at the markets. I'm looking at a lot of technical data too, because I'm very much a left brain person. And then dinner at between 5 and 5:30. And then from there on, I then start again more content, replying to emails. And I usually go to bed at 11:30 or midnight. And then I'm up again at 4:30. Oh, and by the way, the gym. So the gym happens, mm, depends on the day, but it happens in the morning. So that needs to happen 6 days a week.
So starting off your thanks for sharing that, by the way. Starting
You
off
bet.
your day, you said you consume content. Is that does that set the rest of the tone for the rest of the day?
100%,
Hmm.
because what it does is that it sets my EQ. It sets me off because there's a ton of negative content out there, right?
Absolutely.
By the way, I highly recommend that you just squeegee that out of your life
Yeah.
because believe it or not, you may
Hmm.
not think that it affects you. Yes, it does.
Hmm.
Yes, it does. Subconsciously, all these messages are in the back of your mind and it might be keeping you from doing things. It might be contributing to that fear that we talked about, right?
Hmm.
So I ingest a lot of positive stuff. I want to see positivity that I can then spread the rest of the day. Like I said, it might be an inspirational quote. It might be I see, a video of a guy that overcame, cancer or a car crash or something. Ed Millett might be talking, right? It might be Tony
Mhm.
Robbins. It could be a number of people. It could be Deepak Chopra. It could be a number of people. I ingest a lot of that. I subscribe also to a lot of their channels, right? So that's how I get it. I also on like to listen to podcasts on Spotify, and I'm going to give you a couple of them that I really think are just really, really great, man. One of them is
Mhm.
let's see, I'll tell you right now. This one's really good. My Spotify is being updated. Of course it is. But oh, here we go. So there's a 7 minutes. It's called. It's called here. It's called the 7 Good Minutes, and it looks something like this, folks. For those of you who are watching, see if you can see this. Called the 7 Good Minutes. That's one of them. And then there's another guy called the Mindset Mentor. That's another good one too. The Mindset Mentor with Rob Dial, Dial. Those are just some examples of some of the stuff there. And by the way, when I'm at the gym, I'm not listening to music. I'm listening to podcasts. So while most people are listening to music, I'm not. I'm listening to podcasts. That's why if you see me at the gym, you'll see me talking. Sometimes I'm just like talking back at the podcast, right? Like, oh, that's a really good thing, and I'm talking to myself, right?
Hey, I'm the
So
same
that's
way.
that's how I do it, man. And that's
Yeah,
pretty much
nice.
7 days a week, really,
Nice,
because I'm
nice.
on 7 days. There's
Yeah.
no, I mean,
It,
look,
it's
we're taping on a Saturday.
yeah, it's very important to whatever you digest, whether that's content that you're reading or listening to or watching, it's very important to filter out all the negativity. And
Yep. Yep. And then share it, right? Share the stuff.
mhm,
Don't forget to share with your network. If you come across a really great podcast, why aren't you telling everybody? Hey, man, I came across this podcast, right?
mhm,
Or a book that you're maybe reading. I just read, I was telling you that I wanted to SEO my YouTube channel stuff. A friend gave me this book called YouTube for Real Estate Agents. I'm not a real estate agent, but it's still the same content.
mhm.
Man, I read it. It's a small little book. Wow, it's great. There's another one that I love too. If you haven't read this one, it's a tiny read. You can read it in one day, called Acres of
I love
Diamonds.
that one.
This book, for this, you know what? And here's the thing: if you find it great, go buy a bunch of copies and give them out, man. Right? Pass on the love is what I'm saying.
Awesome. So we're winding down in this podcast interview. What's the biggest failure and what did you learn from that experience?
My biggest failure was, well, it's been a couple of them. One, so I'm going to do one that's more on the financial side, which is spending way too much money. You
Mhm.
know, believing that it's never going to dry up. The younger you are, you have all these successes, and then you start buying all these toys and stuff, and you never think the money's going to dry up, and then it does because economies go in cycles, right? We all know. And then the other one was judging people and then coming to find out that they were exactly the opposite of what I thought they were.
Mm,
And I am the one who lost because I lost out on the opportunity of a wonderful friendship.
mm,
Now, let me tell you, it takes a lot of courage to get to that point and say, you know what, I messed up, man. And 9 out of 10 times I will make it right, or I'll go up and, hey, man, I'm sorry. I judged
mhm.
you and I apologize. And I hope that you find it in your heart to forgive me so that we can start over again and build a good friendship because you are a great person. And I'm so sorry that I did that. It was the ugly side of my humanity that came out.
Yeah, it's we're all going to experience failure and learning from that failure is going to help you become who you are today, right?
Well, and that's the thing is that how do you deal with it, right?
Hmm.
How you deal with it is more important than the actual mistake. What do
Hmm.
they say? What the old saying is that life is 1% what happens to you and 99% on how you react. It's true.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Um, what's one question you wish I asked you and how would you have answered?
I think it's the one that I answered already, which is, so Ed, why do you do what you do? Why the mortgage business, man? And I'll tell you, number one, because I remember what homeownership did for my mom and I. But secondly, it's because in the mortgage business, even though you think you're just talking to me for a mortgage, the truth is I come in as a stranger and I leave like family. And that to me is everything. I don't want to just be a mortgage person. I want you to understand that I am your advocate and that I will do anything and everything possible in my power to help you, whether even if it's outside of mortgages, but it's by connecting you to another great person in my network. I need you to understand that that is powerful and that I mean it. It's not just something I'm just saying.
Excellent. Now, where can listeners find you online?
Well, they can find me on my YouTube channel. They can also go to Ed Diaz Loans. So that's EDDIAZLOAN as in Nancy S.com. But you can also email me, ed@eddiazloans.com.
And also, Ed's personal numbers on these on the
Yep, it is. And that's 415-368-1149. Call
call or
me
text.
anytime. Absolutely. Anytime I'm here.
Now, you do also have a networking group, right?
I do. I
Can you,
formed a
yeah, let them
networking
know.
group 17 years ago. It's called Bay Networking Group, and that's you can go to www.bay-n as in Nancy, G as in great.com. So that's like networking group, right? Truncated. So that's www.bay, B-A-Y, dash N as in Nancy, G as in great.com.
And is there a cost to it?
There's no cost and no bureaucracy either. That's the other thing too. We're not here to babysit. You got 24 seconds to talk. No, it's not like that. It is a group that is immensely talented on their left brain,
Hmm.
meaning that they're very technically adept and they're best of breed when it comes to their individual industries. But at the same time, they're very human. They're very caring and empathetic people that care about their relationships, whether it's a client, friends, family, or networking partners or referral partners as well. So it's the combination of both.
And why did you start it?
I started because that's what I was looking for. I wanted people that not only were great technically, but would also speak in language of love, a language of grace, a language of inclusion, a language of wanting to help, where the money was not their driving factor. It was their impact.
Hmm. Wonderful. Um, any last words worth sharing for the audience today?
Absolutely. Don't let anybody tell you that you cannot do it. You need to surround yourself, number one, with the right people. So I have 5 things for you. Number one, I call it my 5 Ps. Number one, have a plan. Your plan does not have to be this 59-page thesis. It doesn't. It could be a one-pager, but write it down. What's the plan for your life? What do you want to do in 2024? Don't make it out too far out because it's going to change. Because as you mentioned, change is constant, right? And inevitable. So number one, have a plan. Secondly, be patient. Rome wasn't built in a day, it takes time. It
Right.
does. If you read the book Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, he will tell you that it takes at least minimum 10,000 hours to be an expert at anything. So be patient. Number three, persevere. Be persistent. Don't give up ever. Elon Musk, yeah, he's got his craziness to him, but they said, hey, after your second or third rocket blew up, did you think about wrapping it up? He said, never. I never give up. Literally, that's what he said. The next P is surround yourself with the right people. People matter. When you
Mhm.
surround with yourself with the right people, the tribe, the ride and die people, right? Your life is just awesome. Think about it. Everything's awesome. Going to lunch is awesome. Having coffee is awesome. Going to a ball game is awesome. Going to a picnic is awesome. Going to the farmer's market, going on a hike, going riding bicycles. Everything is
Right.
awesome with the right people, right? And then finally, you have to be positive. Stay positive. I know it's not easy. It's easier said than done. I get it. I'm a human just like you. But surround yourself with positive energy and positive content. You start to see negativity, change the channel. Go and move on. How do you do this? Start getting yourself different channels and content that you could just go to easily to get positivity, right? So podcasts, subscribe to great podcasts like Jason's, right? Subscribe yourself to other podcasts that you know the moment you go to it, that's what they do. They do positivity. They don't do negativity. So get organized, right? With all positive content, but stay positive. There you go.
Awesome, awesome, great stuff. I appreciate you, brother. I love
Oh,
you.
right back at you, man. I love you, bro.
Um,
We're
and
brothers. We're brothers in this fight.
I remember when we first met at the we had some coffee.
Yeah, of course, Pete's in Birmingham.
Man, yeah, we had a great conversation and
It was explosive. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
you know, right? I mean, can you imagine? Think about this, Jason. If we did that every single day, man, how would life be?
And we didn't even exactly, and we didn't even talk about business. A
No, we forgot to talk. Originally, by the way,
little
everybody who's
bit.
listening to this, we were supposed to talk about business, but that was like 2% of it, and 98% of it just ended up being about life and kinship and how we share similar energy and the impact that we can have in other people's lives. And here we go. You know what? People leave evidence by the things they say and do.
Absolutely.
Pay attention.
Yes, sir. And so if you haven't already, please reach out to Ed Diaz if you have any questions about purchasing your first home. Go ahead and follow him on Facebook, LinkedIn, call or
Yeah.
text his number on the screen. This guy
Yeah,
is,
just type in Ed Diaz mortgages and it'll all pop up in all the social feeds.
there you go. And I like to say, Ed Diaz is a real guy. He's a real person. He's a real brother, and he's down to earth. So please reach out
I
to
am.
him. This guy's awesome. Ladies
And
and
by the
gentlemen.
way, here's my QR code for those of you who are actually
Oh,
watching
there you
this.
go.
Just scan it right now. It has all my social media right there. And you'll see my email right here, my phone numbers,
Awesome. Awesome.
everything is right there. But just scan this QR code and you'll get all of my social media, all of my information is on there. Please reach out to me. Again, I'm not here to sell you anything. Let's dream a little bit and let's see how we can get you from point A to point B, whenever that is.
Awesome. Well, ladies
Thank
and
you again,
gentlemen,
Jason.
you're so welcome. This concludes our boss segment, and everyone take care. Have a blessed rest of your day. God bless everyone.
God bless.
Thank you so much, Ed.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Be well.